Welcome to Melis Fairy. Today I'm reacting to your Zelda hot takes.
I'm becoming like a brave person almost.
So a few days ago I asked you guys on my community tab to give me your Zelda hot takes and I'm just going to react to them. I'm going to say if I agree or disagree and we're all going to have fun.
It's going to be good and we're all going to have fun!
Disclaimer, I'm sorry my hair is like pixelated. It's because there's a greenish hue to the color of this wig and it kind of clashes with my green screen. So it just looks like that. And I'm sorry. Okay, so the first one, well, there's three of them, but I'm gonna deal with them as one because it's all about the same thing. So they're all from Gaby Moon. Hi, thank you. And basically, this is a difficult one because this is about Sheik, okay? And I haven't played Ocarina of Time in like 100 years. So I actually had to do some Googling and some rewatching of cutscenes to make a decision on this. So basically, saying that Sheik and Zelda are a better pairing than Link and Zelda, which hence why I'm gonna get to why I had to do research. I don't know if Gaby meant that like Link and Zelda are an inferior ship to Link and Sheik maybe, because Sheik and Zelda are the same person, but I'll get to that. And then there's an undeniable desire and love between Link and Sheik. It's the most intense when Sheik teaches Link the Bolero Fire, and then there's a little description about what like Bolero, what the dance kind of represents, which is a very like sensual romantic dance for sure. And then Sheik isn't a simple change of clothes, but actually a full magic transformation to Zelda's body as well. She becomes faster, stronger, etc. So here's the thing. No. I just don't think like canonically that's accurate. The whole thing about like the undeniable desire and love, I get that, I can see that, but that's because it's Zelda. It's canonically, this is an alter ego, basically. And an alter ego is not a magical transformation. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I literally just did research on this. And there are quotes from the creators and writers and also translators of the dialogue. And basically, canonically, Sheik is just Zelda in disguise, just wearing different clothes. The idea that she is faster, stronger as Sheik, that's just because there's a time jump. And Zelda, from the child version of Zelda we meet in the beginning of Ocarina of Time, to the adult Zelda / Sheik that we meet in the adult Link timeline, there's like 10 years of where Zelda actually is getting Sheikah training. That's why she is faster, stronger in that form. But literally, if you take the outfit off and she dresses up as Zelda, she's still going to have the same physical abilities. So it's not a magical transformation. It's just that there's a big time jump with training that we just don't see. Canonically, that's the conclusion I came to whilst doing research today on this. As far as the pairings go, again, I don't know if Gaby meant that Link and Sheik are a better pairing than Link and Zelda, or if they meant that Sheik and Zelda are a better pairing, but that's physically impossible because they cannot coexist, Sheik and Zelda, unless you're playing Smash Bros. But that's not Zelda canon. So yeah, I don't think any pairing is better than Link and Zelda as far as The Legend of Zelda goes. So I would disagree with that one regardless of what the other option is. I do think there's an obvious like chemistry between Link and Sheik in those scenes, but I think that's because it's Zelda. And obviously Link doesn't know that right away, but I think it plays into it. Okay, so this is a long one, but it's worth a read. Revali is the best champion, and character-wise as well. He represents the ego that shrouds self-awareness and internal doubt incredibly. He copes differently with his reputation to his village, his status as a champion, and having to contend with knowing his village may one day perish at the hands of Ganon. I also love the concept of a character challenging the hero. Revali, from what I perceive, is incredibly complex in that he used his ego to protect himself from feeling inferior or incapable of protecting his people, which is why he's almost always training to perfect his technique. So I agree to this to an extent. Revali isn't my favorite champion, but this is not what Diego is saying. He's saying that Revali is the best champion, and in the sense of character. And I have to kind of agree with this because on the surface level, he's just a jerk. But from the first memory that you see with him and Zelda, he is working so hard to perfect his ability because he's the only champion who wasn't born with a magical power. He's the only one who actually had to develop it. And that in itself will mess you up in the head, because think of how inferior he must have felt from the get-go. And then comes Link, who technically also isn't really someone with an ability, but gets the praise and the honor of protecting Zelda, of being her right hand. So there's a lot of things happening there psychologically that make him the most complex and probably the best written champion. Okay, we have one from Sam. Collecting the Koroks is one of the best features in the game, not for the reward, just for fun. Disagree slightly. I do think it's fun, and I think it's the best way to actually go around the map and actually get to go to every location. There are a few locations with no Koroks, but still, the majority of them will have a Korok. So if you're trying to get all the Koroks, you're gonna get most of the map. And I think that's probably why that feature is in there, why that exists. So you explore like this huge open world. So I do think it's super fun. I don't think it's one of the best features, but I do think it's a good one. Okay, here's one from Fazil. I like the weapon durability. The Master Sword should be limited in places it can be used so that you don't get comfortable with one weapon. I agree. I like the weapon durability system in Breath of the Wild. I think a lot of people don't, and I understand why, because it can be a little frustrating, but if you're playing enough, you're not going to run out of weapons. There are weapons everywhere, and once again, the way that the system works is that it's designed to make you explore and go after things. Next one from Variable Zero. Hot take. I like to see what other incarnations of the Mises' hatred could be created that aren't Ganon. We've seen a lot of standard Ganon, but never enough of characters that could serve the same function. I like to see more of those types of those characters if Tears of the Kingdom is the end-all be-all for Pig Boy. Again, agree and disagree. I do think it would be cool to have different incarnations. However, I don't like it when Ganondorf/Ganon isn't present. Like, there are exceptions, like Majora's Mask is amazing and there's no Ganon form. Like, I was just obviously rewatching the new Tears of the Kingdom trailer over and over again, and I'm so excited that we have a voice for Ganondorf again, because I've been, like, it's been on my wish list. I've made a video about it, how I want, like, human Ganon again, like man, like Gerudo Ganon again, and I don't know if we're gonna get him in, like, his full glory, because he looks a little skeleton-like, but it just makes me so excited, and I love that the essence, basically, of the Legend of Zelda series is the reincarnation of Zelda, Link, and Ganondorf, basically. So I do think it would be cool to have different incarnations, but I would miss Ganon/Ganondorf a lot. Here's one from Mr. Edwin. I hope we get better bosses and better dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom. The Blights were fine, especially Thunderblight, but the rest are basically similar. I mean, if we count Monk Masquishia from the DLC, then he's definitely the best boss fight. And the only dungeons we have are the Divine Beasts, and they're basically doing the same thing. 5 terminals, and then boss time. I hope in Tears of the Kingdom we have more dungeons and that they're not the same and have unique boss fights, like in the other games, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, or even Twilight Princess. Agree 100%. Agree. I didn't really miss having more dungeons and different bosses as I played Breath of the Wild, but for a sequel, yeah, I want different things. I do think that the Blights are extremely similar. There's just like a little tweak between them, which like relates to their element, but they're not different enough. The way the Divine Beasts work are very similar with the terminals, so it does get a little boring. I do think the shrines count as dungeons, though, in this sense, because the shrines have actual puzzles. I mean, the Divine Beasts have puzzles as well, but the shrines are literally puzzles. They are one big puzzle that can be solved in various ways. And I do think that counts. And there's like over 100 shrines. But I agree that we need some old school dungeons. We need like a water dungeon, a fire dungeon. I do agree with that. And bosses for sure. For sure. It does look like we have some new monsters coming. Like we have at least, from the trailer, it looks like at least 2 different types of monsters that we're gonna get, plus a dragon, it looks like. So I think they're listening to the fans. Here's one from Kate. I think that Zelda's haircut in Tears of the Kingdom is too short. It doesn't fit her much. It looks cute in a few art styles, but it doesn't really fit her character. I get that they were symbolizing change with her haircut, but it doesn't fit her well, and she looks better with long hair. So let's do like 2 reactions to this, because the second part is a different thing. I like the haircut. I do think, like you said, it symbolizes change. I agree that, like, when you think of Zelda, you think long hair. I agree with that. But I think she can rock anything, honestly. And then for the second part here, we have also a boss fight against a malice-possessed Zelda would be cool, like in Twilight Princess, but with a better design, instead of an ugly green color that makes her look like a zombie. Yeah, I agree. I mean, here's the thing. I like the concept. I would feel conflicted about fighting a possessed Zelda, but I think that's the whole point of it. I never actually finished Twilight Princess, so I never did that fight. But I do like the concept of it. I wouldn't be against it. Also, not a hot take, but I'll defend the Link with my life. Same. Best ship. Next one from I'm AFK. I think there are 2 regions in Hyrule that look better than Akkala. Faron, Korok Forest. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of how Faron looks, and I know a lot of people are. I feel so uncomfortable there. I don't know what it is. I just don't like that jungle-ness of it. Akkala, I think, is really pretty, but it's a dangerous place. Like, there's a lot of guardians there. It's a lot of enemies. The Yiga clan, like, they pop up there. Like, I don't know what's happening there, that the Yiga clan just pop up every 2 seconds. It is pretty, though. Korok Forest is gorgeous, but I don't know. To me, the regions that look the best in Breath of the Wild are probably the southeast of the map, like with Lurelin Village and stuff. I think that whole area is super pretty. And honestly, just Central Hyrule, I think it's super pretty. I like the green of it. I like Dueling Peaks is very pretty as well. I don't know. Not a huge Faron fan, though. I'm sorry. Here's one from Ashley. The Korok puzzles are in the worst places where there are monsters and stuff. Well, some of them are in very isolated places as well. Some of them are just in the middle of nowhere, just look like a literal rock you just have to pick up. So I think they changed it up enough, in my opinion, where you have some that are really in the middle of chaos and some very deserted. There's so many of them that it's hard to make them all in safe places, even if they intended to do so. Alright, here's one from Kleb. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be one of the less better Zelda games. It's just my opinion because of all the hype. I don't know, I have high expectations, and I hope it can meet them. Also, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is way underrated. I mean, I can't really agree or disagree because we haven't played the game yet. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be at least as good as Breath of the Wild. I don't think they can make it lesser than. Just because they have the same base. So unless they really mess up the plot, the story, the lore, but I don't see how it can be less than Breath of the Wild. There is a lot of hype though, so I don't think it's a matter of like, is it going to be a good game or not? It's a matter of like, are people's expectations too high? And I mean, it could be. Now, as far as Age of Calamity being underrated, I haven't actually played it. I've watched it. I've seen like all the cutscenes and stuff. So I feel like I've played it, but I haven't. It does look underrated in the sense that like you get a whole separate timeline there, and I think that's super cool. And I feel like we should have another game that explores that timeline where the champions survive. This one's from Dude. I like the puzzles and dungeons in Breath of the Wild. First Zelda game, by the way. Well, me too. I think they're great. I think just because they're different from past Zelda games, it doesn't mean they're not as good. And I think I hate it when people like, okay, let me just do a rant here. I have to vent. One of the things that annoys me the most in life is when someone says, I think Breath of the Wild is a good game, but not a good Zelda game. And it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. It's a Zelda game in all its essence. I don't understand when people say that. It just really makes me angry.
I have spoken.
Here's one from Zelda Erica. Speedrunning is quick. Disagree. Have you ever seen me speedrun? I'm actually super slow. So, nope. Here's another one from Fazil. Guardians should be more menacing like in the first trailer. Yes. If you haven't seen the first Breath of the Wild trailer, or you just haven't seen it in a while, this is how they presented the Guardians to us. Like, way more menacing and dangerous than they actually are. Like, of course, Guardians are dangerous, and they'll hunt you down for a little bit. But the way they presented them in the trailers, like 100 times like worse and more dangerous. Here's another one from Fazil. Breath of the Wild needs more collectibles, more varieties. I mean, not more poop. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Here's one from Tartan Circle. Gold linos are tedious, not difficult. I agree. I think it depends, obviously, on your skill level, and gold linos to me, when I first started playing, were impossible. Just impossible. Well, linos in general were impossible, not just gold linos specifically. Once you learn how to actually engage in battle with them, and you learn the patterns, it's not that hard. And then the difference between a red lino and a gold lino is just the HP. So that's why it becomes tedious, because you know what you're doing. You're just going to have to do it like 10 more times on a gold lino than you would on a red lino, so it becomes tedious. I agree with this 100%. Here is one from Legend. Advanced combat in Breath of the Wild is cool, but I don't really see the point in it, unless it's using speedruns or something. Well, I think advanced combat and speedruns are polar opposites. I don't think they meet. I could be wrong with this. I think it's super cool. I cannot do it. I can't do any combat tricks to save my life. Or speedrun ones, to be honest with you. But I do think they're cool. When you say I don't really see the point in it, I don't think there is a point. I think it's just people having fun, honestly. I think this game has been out for so long that you just have to keep coming up with stuff to entertain yourself. And getting very good in combat is just one of those possibilities. So, I mean, when people are good at it and they're having fun, I suppose that is the point. Okay, here's one from Jeep. This is a hot take for sure. I think $70 is a fair price for a full AAA game like Tears of the Kingdom. Considering inflation and long-term money devaluation, $70 for a game now is less than $60 was a few years ago. Complaining about a totally reasonable price increase makes gamers seem like naive, pouty children who don't understand how an economy works. It feeds the myth that we're all a bunch of basement-dwelling man-children. I love this comment, by the way, and I agree with it. I think, here's the thing. I don't have a lot of money, so when I see $70 for a game, I'm like, ugh. But I'm gonna buy it. Like, this is a choice, you know? And if any game has earned it, I think it's Tears of the Kingdom, considering how long they've been working on it and how much they've delayed it to improve it and stuff. I wish it was cheaper, but I understand why it's not. And like you said, inflation and just things change. We can't expect games to be the same price forever. Here's another one from Ashley. These are various, all from Breath of the Wild, she points out. So, Zelda's voice doesn't match her character, English version. I agree to an extent. Like, I feel like it matches her character, but it doesn't make sense for her character. Because none of the people around her who have raised her have British accents. Like, the king doesn't have a British accent. Urbosa, who has been implied to have been part of raising her, doesn't have a British accent. Unless, her mom might have had one, but I think she died when Zelda was like 6 or something, so she wouldn't have been around that accent during her like main years of learning language. So unless she has like a babysitter that we've never met before that has a British accent, then it just doesn't make sense. Link looks way too much like a girl. I think that a lot of the Hylian characters are ambiguous in their look. I think they're designed like that. Almost like, well, because Hylians are basically based on elves, which are androgynous creatures anyway, so that's probably on purpose. Also, And I don't see it as a bad thing. Quirks are trying to kill you, I swear. Do you think so? I don't know. I've never gotten that vibe from them. But maybe the way they're, like, where they're located, sometimes you might wonder, like, why are you here? Are you trying to get me killed? So I can see it. I can see it. Guardians are annoying. I think most people would agree with you on that one. For sure. Link and Zelda Forever? Yes. 100%. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If you don't ship them, there's something wrong with you. And that's fine. You're allowed to have things wrong with you. None of us are perfect. Characters are annoying and need more dialogue. It depends on what you mean by characters. If you mean like NPCs, I think I agree with you. It is all very limited. However, I understand why it is limited because it's such a big overworld that you can't give every NPC like the fullest personality, you know, and dialogue variety. It's just not realistic. And here is the last one. Well, the last comment. There's various in this one comment from RazorX. So let's get into it. Majora's Mask isn't that great. RazorX, you shouldn't say that. Majora's Mask is amazing. To be honest, I haven't played Majora's Mask since it came out, basically. So I don't know if playing it now, I would feel the same about it as I did when I first played it. As it stands, it's my favorite Zelda game after Breath of the Wild. Were I to play it again, would I feel that way? I don't know. But as my mind is right now, in this moment in time, I think it's amazing. I don't believe in a mute Link. What do you mean you don't believe in a mute Link? Like, you don't think he's actually mute, you think he can talk? Because I'm pretty sure, like, canonically, Link can talk. Because he makes sounds and stuff. As far as lore goes, he is silent because there's a phrase that explains it. Something about his oath as a soldier, as like Zelda's protector, is something about him having to bear burdens in silence or something like that. Am I making this up? I feel like this is a thing. Ocarina of Time Zelda is one of the weaker incarnations of the character. Okay, so now we go back to the whole Sheik thing. Because if I'm getting my information correctly, Zelda in Ocarina of Time, during the time jump, has a literal 10 years of Sheikah training. So she is not weak in that sense. As far as like her magical powers go, possibly, I don't know. Who do you guys think is the strongest Zelda out of all the games? Because that's a discussion to be had. Because Breath of the Wild, Zelda is quite powerful once her powers are unleashed, and she literally holds Ganon in that castle for 100 years. Twilight Princess Zelda, I think she knows how to fight with a sword, but I don't think we actually see it. I don't know, something to think about there. Something to think about. I have nothing wrong with weapon durability in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, so we've been through this one with another person's comments. I like the system. I like how they've done it. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are better than Ocarina of Time. I disagree. Wind Waker's soundtrack is the best in the series. I think you're right. Actually, on that one. I'm indifferent to Zelda and Link as a couple. Depends on which game we're talking about. That is a hot take because people are usually very passionate one way or the other. People are usually very defensive about like Zelda and Link are the best couple, and I'm one of those people. And some people are like, oh no, I hate them. Link should be with this person. Link should be with that person. So being indifferent, I think it is kind of a hot take. Well, those were all the comments that you guys left me, at least as far as today. It is the 9th of February. It is 2 p.m. GMT. So anything that has been commented after that, I just might make it into a second video of hot takes. Thank you so much for the comments. And I want to hear what you guys think about my opinions on the hot takes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.